Hi, my name is Eve, and today we are going to be looking over a time-lapse of a side profile portrait I drew in Procreate on my iPad. Right off the bat, I'd like to address something about side profiles that I see frequently in beginner art. There is a tendency to flatten the face, to make it completely two-dimensional, which is something with realism that we do not want to do. For certain two-dimensional animation styles, that kind of simplicity is completely necessary, or else the forms would become so complex that it would be impossible to finish the clip. But in this case, we are going for realism, and we want to accentuate the face by showing it has depth and space. So I've created a diagram to help show what we want to do instead. Just because we are seeing something directly from the side doesn't mean the object won't show signs of perspective. In addition to the model, I have some images here I downloaded from Pinterest to show you what I mean by a side profile in perspective. On the left is the original image, and on the right I have outlined in white the parts of the face that are showing from the other side, which brings depth to the portrait. Now that we've got that covered, let's jump into the actual time-lapse itself. I start out with my sketch and jump right into the color block in stage. I've got aspects of the other side of his face that we can see, such as a bit of his other eyebrow peeking out. Another important thing that I'm showing in the sketch here is the plane of the forehead. Instead of seeing the plane as simply a flat slant, I've marked it with a red line where the center line of his forehead is. As I fill in that part more with color, it will become apparent that that area is a solid plane. During my sketching phase and color blocking phase here, I'm thinking about the box method diagram and how I can put this imaginary box around his head to give it depth. At this point, I don't need to draw what I think the box would look like, but that is an exercise I would recommend for beginners. Once my block-in is complete, I pick a spot to start rendering. I start with the face in this case, since there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that area. A lot of the difficulty for me with this piece is maintaining a balance between the reds and the greens. Although it may not look like it right away, you could say this portrait technically has a complementary color palette. Just a refresher, complementary colors are two colors that sit across from each other on the color wheel. The model's skin has underlying pink colors, and the pink is just red and white mixed together. The environment around him is full of green leaves reflecting sunlight, and those reflections will make the areas in shadow appear to be slightly green as well. So my job here is to show that this man is standing in a green space, not that he is turning green like a zombie. And the way it's interpreted by the audience is all down to how well I place and blend the colors on his skin. That's a lot of pressure. At this point, I feel it's a good enough time to start working on rendering the white shirt. Here, it is also crucial to line up my colors so that it's clear that this is a white shirt in a green environment, not a shirt that's slightly green. A great way to do that, in my opinion, is to accentuate the blues and purples on the shirt. If you look at a sheet hanging on a clothesline outside, you'll notice that except for in areas of direct sunlight, white cloth is very rarely just white. Its shadows work as beautiful reflectors for the colors around it, which most usually show up in shades of blue and purple. I remember all of my painting teachers have had at least one lecture on how you can tell how strong an oil painter is by seeing how many colors they can manage to fit into the reflections of a white cloth. And finally, I'm at a point where I feel comfortable leaving the figure alone for a bit and moving on to work on the background. I find painting grass and trees to be difficult, since you've really got only 2 or 3 shades of green, and with them I need to simplify, create depth, and show form. That's a lot to ask. I spent a little bit figuring out what brush I want to use, and then I'm ready to start making marks. You'll notice once I have all the leaves painted and in focus, it all looks very strange. That's because I need to put some blur in the background, and as soon as I do, those crisp blobs become faraway trees. Softening edges is the perfect way to convey that something is not in focus. After that, I'm ready to take my color dodge tool and add some glowing light to my figure and the atmosphere around his head. I also do the last finishing highlight touches along the edge of his face and use an overlay to add some texture to the background. Then I simply put my signature in the bottom left-hand corner and I'm finished. Thanks for tuning in. I hope to have more cool content for you soon. See you next time.